You know what? I'll say it. I enjoyed Summer Games Fest. Was it entertaining? Was it full of good announcements outside of Xbox's only tangentially related showcase? Not really. But you know what? It was still a fun time, and there were some really cool games revealed over the whole weekend. So today, I'm going to go over the ones that caught my interest the most. I only watched 3 presentations, well, technically 4, but Ubisoft had nothing to show. So I got 15 games to throw at you, broken down by presentation, and sort of rapid fire style. Let's get into it. The Summer Games Fest show was fine. I think it gets a raw deal because it has such big shoes to fill after the collapse of E3, and it can't possibly live up to people's expectations. I mean, Jeff tried to reel in our expectations by downplaying how exciting the event would be, and boy, he wasn't kidding when he said there wouldn't be one big end-of-show type announcement. But no matter how much he does to keep our expectations in check, it's hard not to dream of those huge announcements for our favorite series coming at these shows. The hard part for Jeff is, so long as Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo want to do their own events in June, and why wouldn't they? There's only so many exciting announcements he can get. I do appreciate Jeff trying to give us an E3 replacement, and I think Summer Games Fest will get stronger as time goes on, but right now, it's in a tough spot. Despite all of that, there were still some interesting games at the show. Here are the 5 that stuck out to me. Look, I don't have a PlayStation, so usually I wouldn't bat an eye at an announcement for a Horizon game, but seeing the Nintendo Switch logo at the end of the trailer did pique my interest. I probably still won't play it since it's a Lego game and I'm not really into Lego games, but it does look really cool, and it's crazy to see a Horizon game coming to a Nintendo console, as annoying as all the discourse around that announcement was. I love this trend that's developing of making classic beat-em-ups with iconic cartoon characters. It started a few years ago with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Shredder's Revenge, and now they're making a new Power Rangers beat-em-up. The game looks awesome. The pixel graphics look fire, and the music sounds as amazing as you'd expect. Folks, they made a Killer Bean game! This announcement came out of nowhere at the presentation, but the game looks absolutely insane. Its gameplay looks like parts GTA and Perfect Dark, and apparently it's also a roguelike? I don't know how they'll pull it off, but the trailer was wild. Also, that slow-mo feature they showed off is absolutely sick. I'm digging this recent trend with Sonic where Sega's going back and remastering the oldish games that everyone loves. They did Sonic Colors a few years back, and now Sonic Generations. Though I'm not tapped into the Sonic fandom, it seems to me that Generations is one of the most beloved games, and yeah, it's sick. There's a level where Sonic is skating through San Francisco. I was obsessed with that one as a kid. So cool. Plus, it seems like there's some neat extra content added, which is always a good plus. We did get a nice look at Monster Hunter Wilds at Sony's May State of Play, but I thought the extended trailer at Summer Games Fest looked even cooler. This game looks great. The monsters look wilder than ever, the gameplay seems super smooth, and the game does seem a little more open than past Monster Hunter entries, even if it isn't that true open world Monster Hunter that I was hoping for a while back. Regardless, 2025 is looking like a stacked year for gaming, and Monster Hunter Wilds is one of the many reasons why. If I had to grade the presentation, I'd give it a C. It wasn't bad, but it also wasn't very good. Killer Bean carried! After that underwhelming Summer Games Fest show, and especially after all that's been going on this year in the gaming industry, we needed an event like Day at the Devs this summer. In today's gaming climate, with huge budgets and high stakes and constant layoffs, Indie developers are as important as ever, and their creativity is such a refreshing breath of fresh air. I always love to see what indie games are coming up, and it's important to support these developers. So here's 5 games that particularly stood out to me from a really fun day at the devs presentation. I'm so excited to finally hear more about the next project by Mossmouth, the creators of Spelunky, and this game, or rather games, looks awesome. I'm a big fan of a game with variety, and the idea of 50 fun, retro-inspired games already piques my interest. The coolest thing, though, about this game is that there's a small universe that contains all 50 of the small games they created. Mossmouth created a fictional game studio called UFO Soft that, as the story goes, created all of these games for a console in the 80s. The games get more technically advanced as the years go on, and some games even get sequels and returning characters. So it's kind of like Clubhouse games, but for retro games, and it has some fun lore. This sounds like it was made for me. And the best part, it's coming out on September 18th. We are seated. Okay, I'll touch on this one quickly because it kind of freaks me out. In Zoocosis, you play as a zookeeper who gets locked up in a zoo for the night, and you have to tend to the animals, but they've got this gross disease that turns them into monsters and makes them throw up? It's gross, but it's a really cool concept. I would be stoked to play, but the monster giraffes are super scary. Hopefully I get over my fears by the time it comes out, because this game still looks really cool. Man, While Waiting just looks adorable. It's a game about finding little things to do while waiting for mundane events to happen, like waiting for the rain to stop or waiting for a stall in the bathroom to open. It's got such a goofy sense of humor, and I'm sure there's so many small details to find in these awesome hand-painted scenes. Apparently there's 100 levels in this game, each with multiple challenges contained within them, so there's a lot of content here. And with how charming this game seems to be, I'll gladly dive into it all. I love a good narrative-focused game, and After Love EP seems so endearing. I always appreciate getting to experience different cultures in video games, so hearing the developer talk about how they spent a lot of time putting real places from Jakarta, the capital of Indonesia, into the game world made me so excited to dive in. The game was created in part by the developer's friend, who sadly passed away a few years ago, and hearing his passion for the game and for Jakarta makes me feel like the world and story is going to be as awesome as it is heartbreaking. Honestly, that's my biggest concern about this game. I know it's gonna make me a mess. This game's gonna make me super sad, but its world is pulling me in so strongly with its bustling locales and beautiful hand-drawn style that I'm probably gonna pick it up anyway. And it's coming out in October! Again, we're seated. The art style and atmosphere in Phoenix Springs is stunning. It's this sort of watercolor style, but it's got this slight eerie grain over the image. In fact, the whole game feels kind of eerie, and that mystery that you get from even just watching the trailer is so captivating to me. The developer calls the gameplay a modern point-and-click style, which admittedly isn't my favorite type of gameplay, but I think it suits this game's vibe and direction super well. It feels like a weird point-and-click game you'd stumble upon randomly 10 years ago while browsing the internet. It gives me this strange feeling of nostalgia for something I haven't actually experienced. I don't know, it's strange, it's eerie, and it's coming out on September 16th? I have to choose between this and UFO 50? Come on. If I had to pick a grade for this one, A++. We love indie devs. This was great. So charming. I can't wait for next year's Day of the Devs. It's been a rough few years for Xbox. Between their lackluster release schedules over the last few years and their disappointing shelving of numerous talented studios, they've been the targets of a ton of criticism for this entire generation. But as messy as they've been in this era, everyone forgets all about that, justified or not, if you deliver an amazing showcase right after. And you know what? They did just that. Xbox's 2024 showcase was massively impressive, and for the first time made me feel like my $500 Series X wasn't a waste of money. Their next 2.5 years of game releases are starting to line up, and it's an exciting time to be an Xbox fan. If you ignore all the gross stuff. Anyway, here's my 5 favorite games from the showcase. It's a Doom game where you can ride a dragon. Need I say more? Okay, I'll say a little bit more. I love what this game is going for. Gameplay-wise, it still feels like modern Doom, just with a medieval twist, but somehow that medieval vibe fits Doom so well. I mean, a gun that uses skulls as ammo? That's insane, but it also makes perfect sense. I'm stoked to finally get a next-gen Doom game, and it looks as amazing as I could have hoped. Man, this might be my most hyped game of the entire weekend. Expedition 33 caught my interest off the bat with its strange, dark story alone. After seeing those beautiful forest-like areas and that awesome combat, I became unreasonably excited. Look at this turn-based combat! Is turn-based combat allowed to look like this? The UI is awesome, everything is so fluid, and it has action commands that look super engaging, but not terribly challenging. It just looks so cool. We needed an impressive Perfect Dark trailer after all of those reports about its tumultuous development, and boy did we get one. This game looks what I'd imagine Perfect Dark to look like in 2024. It's a first-person game with cool hacking features and an emphasis on stealth, but its combat also kicks ass. I mean, the combat they showed off in this trailer is so detailed. I love the part where she shoots the enemy falls off of a crumbling railing, and then she jumps down to attack him. That was such an impressive clip and an overall spectacular trailer. If Expedition 33 is my most anticipated game from these shows, Perfect Dark is right behind it. I've been anticipating Fable ever since it got announced, and Microsoft finally gave us the meaty gameplay trailer I've been waiting for. This game looks amazing. The environments are stunning, and they've created an awesome fantasy world. The writing is witty and fun, just like I had hoped, and overall, the game looks terrific. Again, 2025 is looking stacked. Look, I'm intrigued by Indiana Jones and Avowed, and I'll be picking them up on Game Pass, but Flight Simulator 2024 is still my most anticipated Xbox game of the year. The 2020 version of the game is awesome, with detailed controls and stunning, realistic environments, but I did find myself wanting two things: prettier, more detailed textures, and more challenges with the various planes. They've addressed both of those here. Not only does the game look stunning, but they've also added so many cool planes and activities like medevacs, rescue planes, and cargo planes, among many others. Plus, there seems to be a feature where you take pictures of fauna. That is right up my alley. This looks to be the next-gen boost that Flight Simulator needed, and I'm stoked. If I had to give a grade to this Xbox showcase, I think I'd give it a B+. I would have liked specific dates for games like Avowed and Indiana Jones, but there was so much to love at this Xbox presentation, and again, it finally feels like they're figuring out what they want to do with this generation. Well, those were 15 games that piqued my interest at Summer Games Fest. I can't wait to play these games, and I hope you found something in this video that piqued your interest as well. And I recommend that you go back and you watch the Day of the Devs presentation if you didn't already, because we gotta support those indie devs, guys. With that said, I'll see you in the next one.